Hello. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Today, I want to start jumping into narrative writing a little bit. And one of the things that is going to be really important in narrative writing is point of view. As this week goes on, we're going to talk about why narrative writing is important, why we would want to do it, things like that. But this is sort of like a background bit of information that I want you to be really good at because it's going to help your stories be better. So, point of view is the perspective of the narrator in relation to the story being told. There are 3 different options for point of view. The first one is first person. First person is when you tell the story and you use words like I, me, my. In first person, the narrator is telling a story that is happening to them. So your memoirs were first person narratives. When you read those, you were reading about a story that was happening to the person telling the story. The second option is second person. That is when you use you and yours. This is when the narrator is telling a story that is happening in theory to the reader. It is not literally happening to the reader, but it's usually like an imagined reader within the story. Second person is very rare to see in narratives, but we can look at some examples. I have a couple different things we can look at where people do use second person, and it's really impactful when you do because it is so rare. And then third person is like she, her, hers, he, him, his, they, them, theirs. So that's when the narrator is telling a story that is happening to someone else. So the narrator might be part of the story, they might not be, but they're telling about something that's happening to another person. So what I want you to do today, you wrote a sample story, you wrote for like 20 minutes, Thursday before fall break. What I want you to do is I want you to take that story and I want you to turn it into the 2 point of views that you didn't already write it in. So I'm going to give you a little example. I brought this over. So it says, shadows fell around Sally as she crept through the dark woods. She didn't want to be here anymore, but it was too late to turn back. Screech! Sally jumped as an owl flew past her. So this one, guess. Which of these 3? Is it first person, second person, or third person? We can tell by the pronouns that are being used if we're not sure. So we have she, we've got she, we have a character's name being used rather than like I did this. We don't have any you or yours. So this is third person. Third person is very common in narratives. You may have immediately jumped to third person. You may have immediately started with first person. Most of the time I see people that start with third person. So let's turn this into let's label this. So right now this is third person. Let's turn it into first person. And I'm not going to do anything like crazy here. I am just going to simply rewrite it because I just want to think about how the different point of views work. So shadows fell around me as I crept through the dark woods. I didn't want to be here anymore, but it was too late to turn back. Screech! I jumped as an owl flew past. And we can put the me on there, we wouldn't necessarily have to. So as you can see, It's the same story, but the perspective of the narrator is different. Now the story is happening to the person telling the story rather than happening to some other person. Now this can still be Sally. Sally might be the narrator now, but we're getting a different perspective. We're getting a different point of view. We're viewing the story through a different person's view. Instead of an outside third party, we have it directly from the character it's happening to. Let's turn it into second person, just because we can. Again, second person is going to be pretty rare, but I can show you some examples if you're interested in second person. I'm trying to think of some that use second person. I want to say the Series of Unfortunate Events does. There's a podcast that does, and there's some like mystery novels that do, or like thrillers. Okay, so if we were gonna write this in second person, we'd write, I'm actually gonna change so this is written in past tense. We'll talk more about tenses. I'm gonna switch the tense to present because I think it's weird to write in second person if it's happening in the past. So, shadows fall around you as you creep through the dark woods. You don't want to be and it's probably going to be there anymore. It could be here. But when you use second person, it feels really removed because I'm like weirdly talking to you and it's happening to you in your imagination. So I'm going to stick with there. You could leave it either way. You don't want to be there anymore. But it's too late to turn back. Actually, I'm going to change that to it is screech. You jump as an owl flies past. And you could just leave past, or you could put the U on the end, either way. So as you can see, changing it to present tense makes it much more mysterious when it's second person. I don't know if I can think of any that are in past tense. I could see some cases where it would work. I just wanted this one to be present tense. We can talk more about tenses later too. So what I want you to do, find your story and rewrite it from the other two perspectives that you didn't use the first time, and just think about how they kind of function. What are the benefits or drawbacks of each of those perspectives? Once you've rewritten it, jot a little bit. Questions. What are the benefits and drawbacks V do you prefer? Why? So answer those questions. Jot a little bit about those questions once you have rewritten that little story. And if you want to write a new story, you can do that too. If you don't like the story you wrote, you can write a new one. That's fine. All right. Have an amazing day. I will see you soon.